3 HOA enforcers laid hands on my wife in our own driveway. They thought I was just a quiet guy mowing lawns. They didn't know I'm a combat veteran, and when it comes to family, I don't fight fair. I've lived in some rough places during my service days, Fallujah, Kandahar, places where every second could be your last. But never, not once, did I think I'd have to defend my own wife in the middle of a quiet American suburb. We bought our corner lot house 3 years ago. Double garage, neat hedges, a yard Lena could turn into her dream garden. I never bragged about my service. 12 years infantry, scars, medals, stories I don't tell. Out here, I just wanted peace. Lena wanted her flowers. Simple. At first, the HOA seemed harmless. Emails, light reminders, the usual suburban politics. Then he showed up, Rick Thompson, a man whose ego outgrew his job title the second he won HOA president. Suddenly, everything changed. Random inspections, surprise fines, and worst of all, his so-called enforcers. 3 wannabe tough guys in matching polos who strutted around like Navy SEALs. I caught them snooping over fences, taking photos of trash bins, even rattling mailbox doors. Harassment, plain and simple. Still, Lena and I stayed quiet until that morning. I was in a Zoom meeting when I heard raised voices outside. I stepped onto the porch and my blood turned cold. Lena was cornered by the 3 HOA thugs in our own driveway, one with a clipboard, another waving a pamphlet in her face, and the third closing the gap on her like a predator. They were barking nonsense about hanging baskets being a safety violation. Lena, confused but calm, asked questions. That's when one of them shoved her. Not hard, but enough. Enough to make her stumble, to make her eyes widen in shock and pain. That was it. I dropped my phone mid-call and walked down the porch with the same calm focus I had overseas. One tried to play cop. Sir, back away from the scene. The scene, I said, voice low, steady. You just made one. Wrong wife, wrong driveway, wrong damn veteran. I didn't raise my voice, didn't puff my chest, just walked straight into them. Step away from my wife. Clipboard guy smirked. This is official HOA enforcement. She was uncooperative. I caught his wrist mid-gesture and twisted just enough to drop the board. He yelped like a kicked dog. The second guy rushed me, barking, "You just assaulted an HOA officer." That was the last thing out of his mouth before my elbow cracked against his chin. He dropped like a sack of rocks. "Mark," Lena shouted, not fear, but warning. The third came from behind, swinging wild, amateur. I ducked, pivoted, and drove my knee into his ribs. He wheezed like a fish out of water. These weren't trained men, just neighborhood punks playing soldier. 2 down, 1 limping. The last pulled his phone out with shaky hands. "I'm calling the police." I smiled. Good, I've been waiting. What they didn't know was that I'd already filed 2 written complaints. Neighbors had been harassed, especially women at home alone. Rick, the HOA kingpin, had laughed me off when I reported it. But we had security footage, and that morning, Lena had switched the driveway cam on. When the squad car rolled up, I saw the familiar face, Officer Yankowitz. We'd trained together back in the day when she was just a private. She looked at me, looked at the 3 groaning men sprawled across my driveway. She gave me a nod. "Want to tell me what happened?" Lena handed her the footage, crystal clear. The shove, the intimidation, my response. Yankowitz took her time, then turned to the only conscious thug and said, "You just assaulted a civilian on private property and then got folded by a veteran in self-defense. You want to press charges?" His tough guy mask cracked. He went pale. And then, like clockwork, Rick Thompson stormed up in his shiny SUV, red-faced, barking, "This is HOA business." Yankowitz didn't flinch. "No, sir. This is a criminal investigation." I looked Rick dead in the eye. "Send men to touch my wife again, and I'll take it federal." By evening, the video hit the neighborhood forum. Title: HOA Thugs Beat Veteran's Wife, got folded by her husband. The internet did the rest. Neighbors spoke up. Story after story poured in. Harassment, fake fines, threats. The so-called enforcers had been tormenting half the street. Rick scrambled to cover himself, issuing a pathetic statement. "We regret the misunderstanding." Didn't work. 2 of the 3 goons got restraining orders. The one who shoved Lena got slapped with assault charges. I filed a civil suit: trespassing, harassment, assault, emotional distress. Not for money, for truth. Rick panicked, called an emergency HOA meeting. I didn't go, but Lena did. She walked in, Officer Yankowitz at her side, carrying a folder thick with testimonies. When she read out loud what they'd done to a single mom down the street, threatening her for leaving a stroller on her porch, the entire room erupted, shouting demands for resignations. Rick caved on the spot, resigned on the spot. The board dissolved, and when the county auditor checked their books, guess what? Dozens of fines had vanished, straight into pockets. That night, Lena and I sat on the porch with tea. She looked at me and smiled. "You didn't even break a sweat." "I told you, I may mow lawns now, but when it comes to family, I'm still that guy." 2 days later, one of the enforcers limped up with a handwritten apology. I took it without a word. Lena burned it in the fire pit that night. So if you've ever had to stand your ground against an out-of-control HOA, drop your story below. I read them all.